a big storm move through this
good.
morning, so.
Yeah. I'm going to take roll call, and then we are going to introduce our host. Dan is here, Nancy is excused, Senator Gudex is here. Tom Silke, are you with us? Okay, Dave Drury is here. Is RD here? No. Secretary Chandler, Jim Ladwig. Not yet, okay. We do have a quorum. So without any further ado, I want to thank our hosts. And we have got a speaker, Tony Fox, who is Vice President of Finance for Sub-Zero.
All right, thank you. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. She said my name is Tony Fox. I'm the Vice President of Finance at Sub-Zero Wolf. And, welcome to our Fitchburg campus. The building you're in right now is our Wolf manufacturing facility. This is where we manufacture our Wolf cooking product. You're on the west side of the building. It extends east, and it's where we do all of our production of our Wolf product. When you came into the campus, right in front of you was one of our Sub-Zero manufacturing facilities where we manufacture some of our refrigerators and freezers. And then the building that you entered when you came in here is actually our Westy F. Bakke Training Center. It's a separate facility, but attached to this one. It was named after our founder, Westy F. Bakke. We're in third generation of ownership, family-owned business. That training center is actually used to bring in people from all over the world. We bring in architects, designers, dealers, distributors from all over the world to learn about our products. Some smaller sessions, we actually have somebody coming in tomorrow for a 2-day session, and then we have some of the meetings are for an entire week. And when the individuals come in, we cook all their meals for them. We have full-time chefs on staff and wait staff, and we'll cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner here. And we actually use, the vegetables that we use are all out of our garden that we have on the southwest side of this facility, just adjacent to us here. So we cook all of our meals using, well, I mean, the vegetables that we use come from that. Just south of here is where we're doing our 400,000 square foot expansion. It'll be attached to this building, and most of it will be used for additional Wolf manufacturing, so additional cooking product. But we're also going to manufacture our new Cove dishwashers, and those are being introduced in 2017. And initially, years ago before the recession, we had planned, and we have a facility down in Richmond, Kentucky, and we were looking at building the manufacturing the dishwashers there. When we decided to do the expansion, Richmond, Kentucky was an option. Everything worked out well, so we could do the expansion here and to do some additional Wolf expansion here, as well as bring Cove into this facility. It was a huge project. Obviously, it was farmland when we acquired the land, and so there was a lot of infrastructure needed. We had to put in roads, sewer, water, you name it. So, and because of that, all the infrastructure that was needed that wasn't needed at the other locations that we were considering, we've asked the WEDC for their assistance, and so we're very grateful for the assistance that you provided us. It was a big part and big help for keeping the project local and keeping the job local. So we'd like to thank you all for that. So welcome to our facility, and help yourself to refreshments. And I'm going to try and arrange a tour of the training facility afterwards if people are available. Take too long to go through all the manufacturing facilities, but the Bakke Center is a beautiful facility. It's not being used today, so which I wasn't aware of. I thought it was in use today, so we can hopefully arrange for a tour if people are available and like to walk through that after the meeting. So again, welcome everybody, and thank you for your support.
Well, thank you. And we very much appreciate the hospitality, and are very proud that you've stayed here in Wisconsin. And so it's been fun to walk around the room. Someone just joined us on the phone. Could you identify yourself?
Yep, it's Tom Silke.
Hi,
Hello,
Tom.
everybody.
Good morning, Tom. How are you? Okay, first on the agenda, we have the approval of the minutes from the July 14th meeting, which includes both the regular meeting and our closed session. I will entertain a motion to approve if there are no changes. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same? Hearing none, let the record reflect a unanimous vote of approving the minutes. I don't have a formal chair report. We're here to review the ARED report. I'd like to thank staff and others who have helped put that together. It is a project every year that is required, and it takes a lot of work and effort to do that. So thanks to everyone. You know, I was also had the opportunity yesterday to be here for the monthly staff meeting. Some months it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I just continue to be impressed with the group of folks which represent WEDC so well. The level of enthusiasm and collaboration and activity that takes place, you know, there in those offices and out in the field. So I enjoy visiting with you and being part of that, and just want to thank Mark and the leadership team for those sessions. I think that's important for everybody at WEDC, and glad I could be a part of it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks for joining us at our all-staff meetings when you can. I think it gives you a good sense of, as you said, the type of commitment that people have, but also the collaboration that takes place each and every day. My remarks will be very short today because, as Lisa said, the primary purpose of the meeting today is to review the annual report on economic development, which is a statutory requirement. We need to file that prior to October 1st, which we are, as you will see, we are well on schedule to do. We will resume our strategic presentations at the October board meeting. Lisa Wendell from our targeted investment programs will be the presenter at that time, and we look forward to having that discussion at that time. Just a heads up for those of you that may not have seen it yesterday, there was a communication that was sent out to the board that included the information that was presented at last week's Budget and Finance Committee, which included a preliminary June 30th number, financial statements, as well as an update on the tax credit award verifications. We continued to move along on the verifications. It has taken longer than what we had hoped. The numbers continued to come down. During the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, Senator Lassa suggested and commented on a portion of the presentation which we will take a look at and probably likely make some changes for the October board meeting. But the information that you received yesterday was the same information that was reviewed by the Budget and Finance Committee last week. But we've taken a process, gone from a totally manual process to one where we now are using a calculator, which is helping us get through the second verification and getting through these. But we are or will be in contact with the remaining awardees to make sure that they understand what the timeline is for getting that done. And with that, that would conclude my remarks, unless there are any questions.
Okay. If there's no questions for Mark, then we're going to move forward on the presentation of the ARED report.
And I'll start that. Tricia and Pete Norman are going to go through that. But as Lisa mentioned, this is a significant, there's a significant amount of time from a staff perspective that goes into accumulating this information. It's information that we have in our system, but to put it together, to make sure that it makes sense, to put it in the formatting, to get the information from the other agencies. It's all very time-consuming. It's a good report. The one thing I would leave with you before I turn it over to Tricia is, as large as the numbers are in this, and as successful as we look at this, it really is just it is a portion of the success that we have in economic development in the state of Wisconsin, because there is so much that's done at the local and regional level that cannot fully be encapsulated in this report. So know that this is a good summary of what we're doing, but there's a lot more that's being done in the state of Wisconsin through our local and regional partners, which count for over 600 at this time. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tricia.
Very good, thank you, Mark. And as been mentioned, Faye's bringing me the clicker here. It's hard to get out. Thank you. Okay. This is a statutory report that we are required to provide, and it does report not just in this document as well, but online. And I know several of you have seen that, and Pete is going to walk through that aspect of it. And I'm just going to take you through some of the high-level kind of findings that are included in this report and explain sort of what they mean. In addition to WEDC, we've also incorporated the annual outputs of the agencies that you see listed here. These are the same that we've had in years past, included in the report as well, not only in this document, but also online. So WEDC. Last month, we spent a lot of time going through the operations plan and the different divisions and responsibilities within the organization. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but just know that the results that are here incorporate the work of all of the different divisions and departments within economic development, within WEDC, including that of our key strategic partners, where their activities are critical to helping us achieve our mission. So as part of the process, one thing that I need to note, and I know we've mentioned it before, but it's a little bit, can be confusing, is that what you have in this report are those projects that are contracted in the previous fiscal year, so in fiscal year 16. So as you go through and look at the process that took place during that time, it's not just an application review. We then, when MRC or AC or board, depending on which level of approval is needed, when they had provided that letter of intent, that's when our funds were committed, so that's when the budget impact would occur with us. Now, as you know, we have transitioned that process starting at the beginning of fiscal year 17, so this next year, the projects that are contracted will be more aligned with what's in the ARED report, but for this year, we still have kind of that, the projects that were committed were not necessarily contracted in fiscal year 16, so I'll make some notes of that along the way. Maybe. So starting off with the impacts, looking at where we had the goals for businesses and communities assisted, we had 575 direct assistances by WEDC and almost 3,400 of our key strategic partners. Many of them are, WMEP and the projects that they provide, Export Tech, et cetera. And then with communities assisted, we had 140 direct assistances, mostly in the Main Street, Connect Communities, Brownfield, and SAG categories. So leverage, and this is an area where we have a specific goal of 6-to-1, but we've consistently exceeded that. And so if you look here at different programs that we have and the leverage ratios, so the amount of investment that Wisconsin WEDC makes into these projects, they are bringing in significant returns to the state. In the tax credit category, I know I made a mention of this last year, but also want to call that out. It notes a 13-to-1 leverage ratio, but if we pull historic tax credits out of that, which by formula have a leverage ratio because of the way that tax credit is structured, it would actually be closer to 19-to-1. So our business development tax credits, economic development tax credits, our jobs tax credits, and our enterprise zones, those as an aggregate group have a leverage ratio of 19-to-1. So for every $1 of tax credit, the state is getting $19 of investment from the company. Oops, don't want to miss that slide. So together, all of the programs that we've invested in have leveraged $1.7 billion. Now that's just the leverage amount that we are able to track and are part of the project. That doesn't include supply chain impacts or other investments that are made as part of the project. So $1.7 billion for 1 year of our investments. In terms of jobs and job impact, from the position or the awards that we have provided that have contracted jobs, whether it's created or retained, and you'll see those numbers there. When you apply the multiplier, and Mark went into detail on how this is calculated at the last meeting as well, that's nearly 27,000 jobs that were impacted by our investments last year. So what does this mean to the state? It's a $101 million return over 5 years. So for the investments that we've made just in those programs that have jobs as a requirement, the state would have their money back in 3.7 years and then continue to earn on that. So that's over, in those programs, are about 1.3 billion of that 1.7 billion dollar total of the investment that's leveraged, and that only includes income taxes that are generated from those jobs that are to be created or retained. It doesn't include property taxes. It doesn't include additional sales taxes or other corporate taxes that are that the companies would have to pay. So in reality, that ROI is low, but as far as what we're able to track and measure as of right now, that's still pretty substantial. So here is where I turn it over to Pete, which he'll kind of go through the architecture of the site. And do you want me to bring this down to Pete? Or are you going to run it from up there?
Give him an Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I might end up hurting Mark Bailey. That's the problem.
See, so were you going to talk about this, or you actually want me to talk about this part? Okay.
No, go ahead.
All right. So the statute is pretty specific.
Hey, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Oh, all right. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Pete Norman. I'm a business data analyst at WEDC. I've been there for a while, and I've been doing this particular reporting also for a while.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you for all of that.
Okay, great. So the statute's pretty plain on specific requirements that we have to meet, and they're listed out here for you. Basically, they're about trying to get at the stuff that Tricia was just talking about, which is what is the actual return that we get for these things. So, but it's trying to get at them using some specific points of information. So they want to know, well, what exactly did you do and what exactly are we supposed to get out of it? And that's great, it's helpful, and it's very useful. And it created a basis for the rest of what has developed over the past few years. So can I just click on this? Ha, I can, all right. So I'm going to actually switch over shortly here and show you how to get to this page. But this is essentially our launchpad for the ARED information, the Annual Report on Economic Development. You'll hear me saying ARED all the time because it's just shorter. It gives you, essentially what's it about. It gives you links to some things. It's important to recognize, and that's, I guess, the reason we got this slide here, that the ARED actually has a number of pieces to it. There's one piece that's the fancy book that comes out. It's laid out nicely. We've got people that put a lot of effort into that. We've got the searchable database, which lets you find more specific information, but it's not presented in quite a summarized manner. You've got the impact map, so you can see where things are, and there's also Excel files that you can download if you want to do some of your own ad hoc looking into things. We refresh this information on a quarterly basis. We refresh other agency information on an annual basis. And that's the nutshell how it works here. So I will let you get back to the question and answer. Somewhere in here there is. All right. So we'll see if we can get there. Mostly we can find out if I can type is all that comes down to. So if you bring up our site under inside WEDC program outcomes, that's where that same page is. You'll recognize that's where we just were. And I am going to just show you a couple things on here. There's a link to the report that'll be updated shortly. I'm going to actually start with a map this year because it's just easier for what I need to do. So we developed this a few years ago. It didn't exist as Commerce. It's one of the enhancements we've been able to create as WEDC. And we did this in conjunction with Pangea Labs at UW-Whitewater. They were super helpful in helping us understand just how much information you should and shouldn't put into a map for people to use, especially when you've got as broad of an audience as we're seeking to meet with it. So what this does, since we don't know who's going to be looking at it, is it actually walks you through, well, this is how you're supposed to use it. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, so the instructions are there. Choose your region, select your impact, filter your data, generate your report, and I'll show you how that works. You wonder, well, how do I get there? Oh, just click on it and it goes away. Probably anyone's 7 to 10-year-old would tell you that if you asked them, because that's what they do. So that brings up the map, and you can see that it's a state of Wisconsin. It's got a bunch of dots on it. It's got some information over here, and we've got the ability to look at the state in terms of different kinds of districts. So you've got Senate districts, Assembly districts, counties. I'm sticking with counties because everybody's got that in common. And we've got the ability to filter information by the agencies that are there, included in the report, and then the fiscal year. And you can see industry and award type do the same kind of thing. What I want to show you on this is the nature of what works. So we're going to filter to WEDC, and just because it shows a full year, we haven't updated this. This is our live map. I'm going to show you 2015 because it's all there. So you can see that we've got a bunch of different dots on there. There's different indications of how much activity there was within a given county. You can see there are different colors to dots. So if you click on a white color dot, you'll see it's a specific investment, and you can see information about that. Some of the responsive UI stuff that we had put into place a couple years ago occasionally makes it so that you need to scroll a little bit in different areas. It doesn't matter, the information's still all there, you can get to it. But you can see this was a tax credit that was done. You can see the date of the contract execution, sort of what we expect to get out of it is down here. And you can do the same thing with an area. So you could look at like Outagamie County and see that there have been a total of 12 projects that we did in that year and how they add up. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. Now I'm starting to try to remember what I wanted to talk about. There's a couple other things that are helpful here. You can look up specific awards. In this case, happen to know that Wisconsin Bankers Association is in there, and I happen to know it because they helped me point something else out, which is some of what we do is provide assistance to an entity of some sort that then helps other people. And we track some of that pass-through assistance that we provide. And when we do that for some of these awards, then we've got what we call impact locations. So the different places around the state that are actually impacted by that direct assistance that we provided. So it kind of gets spread out a little bit. And that's what this is doing. Since we happen to go to an award that fits that criteria, we've got a number of places shown in orange where that benefit ended up. That happens to also work, if we figure out where we want to do that. I know why. So there are also, especially with the agencies more than with us, there are different levels of benefit out there as well. So sometimes there's multiple counties that are affected. So I happen to also know that the Sparta Area Chamber actually works in a kind of a larger region. And this is identified by the other agencies. That's sort of the level that of our involvement in that is conveying the information that they've given to us. So I don't actually know as much about the detail of what exactly the this tourism grant does, but I'm sure that they could tell you. What else did I want to show you from here? So the other things we can do, Wisconsin Trap Shooting Association. Haven't seen that one before. So what's that?
That's tourism.
Yeah, absolutely. So from here, you can also link for particular awards. You can link over to the searchable database and see sometimes more information about it. In this case, there isn't that much more information, but I can give you an idea. That's not on. But I can give you, if I can remember what the number is, I thought that's what it was. I know why, because I need to do a little sleight of hand. I'm in demo mode, which, for me, not the site, which means that there's some more complicated things going on behind the scenes. But what we can do is I can search on a particular award that I happen to know is out there. This is County Materials Corporation, an award we did in fiscal year 2013 with economic development tax credits. You can see some of the information that is statutorily required here, like the NAICS code that we use to track the industry classification for the jobs that are impacted by the awards. And what I think is still the most fun part of this is that we can look inside and see how this project is supposed to transpire and whether or not it's actually happening. So there's a number of ways that this project's being measured along the left side where it says measurements. There's capital investment, there's jobs, and there's leverage. So some of the things that we talk about a lot. And there's also, because it's a tax credit program, we also show the level to which the tax credits have been utilized. Now, I'm using the word utilized a little bit lightly. I don't know that they've actually used them in a tax return, so they've actually redeemed those credits, so to speak, but they have earned them, and we've verified them. So that's what that part says, and that's why it's got in parentheses verified, just to be a little more clear about what exactly that means. But we can see in here that they were planned to have $14 million of capital investment by year 2 of the project, and they met that goal. They exceeded that. They need to maintain that capital investment. That'll actually be due with the report that they'll submit for this year. But so far, they've maintained it. Their tax credits, they've earned all their tax credits. We can see their planned and their actuals are the same. They've created many more jobs than they were contracted to create. This happens all the time, and that's another reason why Tricia's point about our contracted jobs may understate the actual amount of impact that we're having out there. They've retained the jobs that they were required to retain as well, the additional 800, which is a lot of jobs. And then the leverage amounts just show the overall matching. It's not really matching, but the overall additional money besides ours that are in the projects. And again, I said this is my favorite part because it shows a little bit more about how we talk to the recipients out there, the potential awardees, about what their plans are, what they want to accomplish, and we lay it out in terms of how is that going to actually happen over time so that we have the ability to see whether things are going according to plan. And then we track it here. The only other things that I didn't show you on here is you can take the same information and, it's just because I'm on a particular award. That box searches everything at the same time. So if I type Madison, if I type sub in there, it's going to search for anything that's got the word sub in it. So it's got Sub-Zero, but it's got subsidiary of packaging solutions. It's got subs that are a subsidy over here where programs are. So it's helpful sometimes and sometimes less so. You can filter by agencies. You can filter by the years of the awards. And then otherwise it does the things you expect it would do. That's what I needed to show you guys. Any questions? As long as I'm here.
And I would just offer that, I would offer Pete to, for any board member that's here or people on the phone, if you have questions about what Pete just went through, to give him a call. And you'll be happy to sit down with you, go through it. In the case of the legislators, go through it with your staff so that you understand the working tool and how we use it. Because it's a very valuable tool to be able to look this information up.
Right. And it is a little audience specific in terms of the kinds of questions people will come up with. The general person, public person off the street, it's already going to seem a little bit overwhelming, whereas someone who's a little bit more involved in oversight or a little deeper in our operations might just want to know more details about how exactly we're pulling it together. And that's cool. I mean, that's what I'm there to help with.
Another point that I want to make, and I think if you've gone through and read the report, you'll see noted in there some of the in-progress or pending projects that were in place at the end of the fiscal year. So they're noted in there, although they're not reflected in the numbers that were aggregated up on the screen earlier. But the other thing that's not in here are when we do amendments, because those amendments are attributed to the year that the initial contract was made. So 2 significant enterprise zone amendments were approved by the board this last year. And so those numbers are not in that either capital investment or jobs data for the ARED report. So just FYI.
Sure.
Pete, one question.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have the discipline today to be sure that the data that we enter is valid and can be relied upon. Is the historical database equally reliable?
So, as you're probably suspecting, there's been an evolution with our knowledge of exactly what we're trying to accomplish, and also with our ability to get it done. And that's just how it is. It's definitely true that we're better at it than we were, for sure. When certain kinds of events come up, when we see something that, or when we either find ourselves or are notified by someone else that there's something that's significantly different from what people expect to see, then we make an effort to go and do something about that. And then we figure out how to fold that into our ongoing project or planning so that we can do it better for the forward-looking things, but we don't really stop and go back and redo everything we did in the past.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete.
Did you have anything else? Are there any other questions on the ARED report?
This is Ray Drager. I have one. As I
Okay.
sit up here in northwest Wisconsin and I listen to the candidates that are talking around, talking about us and WEDC and what we've been able to accomplish and what we have not been able to accomplish. And after I listen to this report, and I, of course, have more information than most in this part of the world, is there some way that we can be proactive and get out to the general public some kind of information that the lay person could understand about this report or about our activity that's being reported to the legislatures? The reason I ask is that I listened to a couple of call-in stations here in the last couple of days, and the lay person in my part of the world only hears really what the candidates now are saying about all the shortcomings and the things that are occurred with WEDC in the past and blonde Skippy, all that type stuff. And it seems to me that it would really behoove us to go ahead and have some kind of a positive feedback forum back to the general public. And maybe the airways are too crowded right now. Maybe we need to get past the election. But I think it just seems that no matter where I go, the WEDC, I'm defending us more than I really need to be.
Yeah, this is Mark. I would say I'll be here a year next month. I've been impressed with the amount of information that we make available on our website. And for those of you on the phone, you weren't able to see what Pete went through, but that's why I encouraged you to, if you have an opportunity, to sit down with him and go through it. There's everything every question that people have about WEDC, about the performance that we have, about the awards that we give, about our accountability, about our transparency. It's on the website. And we work very hard, and with Mark Maley coming back, Mark has done a terrific job of getting more news stories out into the media, more positive stories. And so, Ray, I think that we're very outward bound when it comes to that. This information will all be given to the legislators. It's widely disseminated, and we try every day to find ways to continue to talk about the things, not just that WEDC is doing, but more importantly, about what the employers and the taxpayers are doing in the state. It's, we're facilitating what they do. They're doing the work. We can help them do it, and yet we like having that press release coming out of WEDC acknowledging that. And hopefully you're seeing that more and more as you receive the weekly reports. But it's a never-ending battle, and it's one that we'll continue to work through. But I think over the time that I've been here, I certainly have seen just an improvement as to how we approach getting the word out about WEDC and the work that we're doing along with the people of the state.
I have no, I have no doubt about that, and I'm most aware, and we are better today than we were yesterday. I just want us to get better tomorrow, quickly.
Yep. Continuous process improvement.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'd just like to make a comment. This is Senator Goodix. I'm very pleased to view what we've seen here today, and it's interesting to note that WEDC doesn't have an easy job. It's actually quite tough because they're fighting other states for economic position. But the sad part is they're fighting people within the state to try and grow the economy. I've just seen a report here that we've consistently exceeded our goals. Job creation and retention, businesses served, touched, our leverage ratio. That says a lot for the staff that runs WEDC. And what gets out into the public generally isn't what we want to see, because there's certain individuals that keep rehashing the rehash because it's good fodder. And I think if this organization is going to continue to move forward and continue to feed the beast, and by the beast I mean the people that work in WEDC, give them the push and the knowledge and the tools they need to move forward and make it even better than it is today, we've got to get a board that's cohesive. We've got to get a board that's all on board and moving towards the mission statement and the direction that we need for the people who are living in this state. And I think that's very key in moving WEDC forward. If we don't have people on the board that don't wish to participate in a positive way, maybe they should move on. That goes for anybody within the organization, as a matter of fact, but there is so much potential and upside here, and we're seeing just the tip of the iceberg here. I'm very impressed with Mark's leadership and the staff he's got with him. I think they're well poised to move forward in 2017 and beyond. We just have to help them get there, not impede the progress. So I'm short-termed here, so I won't be able to help too much more the rest of this year, but I got to tell you, I'm very impressed with what I've seen on my short time here in WEDC board, and I want to thank everybody for their effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Senator.
Very well said.
Madam Chair.
Having a strong board is always important, but and certainly it's always welcome, the comments. But I can assure you, as I've said, every time I get a chance, that what I am impressed with every day is the quality of the team that we have at WEDC. And they are committed, they're passionate about their work. Part of my job, it's easy to lead them. Part of my job is to try and do the things that Ray is talking about relative to making sure that the support that we have for them becomes public, and not in a gratuitous way, but in just a practical way. And that's a large part of the management team's focus.
Senator Lassa, you had a comment or question?
Yeah, I actually have both, and I like at the finance and budget meeting, I wanted to see if anybody else had questions first before I ask mine. But I guess just one comment to Senator Gudex's comments is that I'm hoping that you're not suggesting that our oversight board should become one that is a rubber stamp, because a lot of taxpayer money is being invested through WEDC into job creation and retention activities. And I think that we do need a cohesive board, but also one that takes its oversight responsibilities strongly. So I'm hoping you're not suggesting that we just become a rubber stamp and not fulfill our duties to the taxpayers. Now, in terms of questions, if you look at the beginning of the report, the note says that we've reduced by 40% the number of key strategic partners to account for potential overlap. Can you talk about that? Because it also says that's on page 12, and then on page 14 it says that we've reduced spending for regional economic development organizations by $400,000. Are those two linked together?
No. This is Tricia. So they're not linked together. What we did, I'll answer the regional EDO question first. We restructured how we fund them. So in the past, there was just I would say almost a block grant provided to each organization. And because of the varying levels of maturity and capacity within those groups, we lowered it this year to give them each, is it 50,000 base funding, and then we use the capacity building grant program for their special projects that they want to do, because some of the groups weren't able to, frankly, spend the money or complete the projects. And so this way it's more on they have that base funding, and then as the projects are needed, there may be more or less given to each regional EDO through that program. In terms of the reduction for the potential overlap, we just wanted to be conservative with our numbers, and knowing that For example, WMEP or the Wisconsin Tech Council, they may be helping companies that we're helping also, and so instead of duplicating that number, that was why we made that reduction.
Okay, and then on page 12, when we look at the bonding award and the amount and the tax credit numbers, it looks like the total award amount is down $47 million from fiscal year 15.
That's probably the tax credits. The jobs tax credits, as you know, were sunset at the end of 2015, and we actually, I think, stopped issuing new awards with that sometime in, I'm going to say October or November. And then the economic development tax credit usage was down from the previous year, as it had been trending because of the implementation of the manufacturing and ag tax credit.
And I believe the IRB.
Okay.
I believe the IRB total is about half of what it was last year, which we have an allocation, but it's not. It just flows through us, but it doesn't really impact our dollars, and that's why we don't have any information on the leverage ratio. But we are required to report it because we do approve it.
Yep.
Okay, and then for the on page 13, the total jobs impacted. It looks like the fiscal year 16 goal is half of what the fiscal year 15 actual was. Is there a reason why we are setting the bar at half what we did in 15?
Those numbers are driven from the individual programs. It's kind of an aggregate of what each of the programs have. And with the continued I guess, decrease in need for the ETCs, economic development tax credits, as well as without having the jobs tax credit and business development tax credit being new, that's where that goal was, that's why that goal is what it was.
Okay. And then, let's see, in terms of, I think it's on page 35. So I have a number of questions, but I can talk to you individually about those. But on the development opportunity zone, the goal, is that another reason why for the development opportunity zone we're setting the goal below the fiscal year 15 actual?
Those, yeah, the development, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, because the award amount is almost twice for what we had in FY15, but the goal itself is below. So, are we anticipating making larger awards, fewer but larger awards?
On the development opportunity zones, that's another program similar to the IRB where we facilitate it for those regions. So I believe it was just based on what we anticipated to come from the regions this year. And actually, in response to your other question too, the other note I want to make is some of these goals and the differences are because we base those goals on our operations plan for the year, and that's where it gets a little awkward with the fact that this report includes everything that was contracted, not just the activity that occurred, and so that's also why some of those variances occur.
Okay. And then, let's see, for the enterprise zones, can you just talk about what happened there? Because it looks like the award total is down about $6.5 million, and the jobs retained is, the goal is, half of fiscal year 15. Is that the same reason?
It is the same reason because, yeah, the one, for example, the one that was committed during fiscal year 16 that isn't reflected here is over 800 jobs created for that one zone. And then talking about the other two projects that we did amendments to that aren't reflected here, that was quad graphics and I don't know if we did Oshkosh this year, right? Dollar General, that's right. Yeah. So that's why that is. Okay. And on page 41, I just wanted to give you guys kudos on the minority business development. I know that it looks like the award total is up by $175,000, so I think that's really positive.
And then for let's see, page 51, the idle sites. Can you just talk about what's going on there with our idle sites development program?
Yep, certainly. So this one, we had the two community development grant programs were the Community Development Investment Grant Program and the idle sites. And in fiscal year 16, both of those programs were competitive. And so the team tried to stagger the application process so that it was able to be underwritten and approved and reviewed internally without killing our staff, which it somewhat did. So the competitive process for the idle sites occurred in the second half of the fiscal year. So by the time that the awards were made and the commitments were made, they had to go back to the community. So they essentially just weren't contracted by the end of the fiscal year, but the awards had all been made.
Okay, so they couldn't be counted.
Yep.
Okay. And then for certified sites, the report shows that there was no activity. Is that the same reason because of when it fell within the fiscal year?
Yes, because we just did two certifications. I have to take the last two names. Which ones we did?
Okay, and then
No, we didn't do sites.
let's see, for page 65 is SBIR STTR matching grant. There is not a listing of how much CTC actually allocated under this program.
Sorry, last time we're looking into that. I'm looking at Erin Hager right now.
Okay.
They would have allocated the full amount.
Yeah, they allocated the full amount.
It would be the full amount that's noted.
Okay, so it's the same amount.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on page 73 is I can get there in my notes. Is the targeted industry project. So the award total is about twice what it was in fiscal year 15. Is this because of how much was awarded to the Water Council, or were there other projects in there as well?
No, Lee, do you want to take that one?
Senator Lawson, this is Lisa Wendell speaking. That pattern of increased demand has accelerated over the last two fiscal years. And so that award amount does not solely reflect demand from the Water Council. We've made additional extended awards to the Midwest Energy Research Consortium, awards to Starting Block Madison, which is the Center of Excellence for Advanced Application Development and Cybersecurity. And there are about 5 others that are pending in this fiscal year that would have otherwise probably been awarded this past fiscal year, but we had structural issues that had to be worked through. So that pattern of increased demand is something that we did see this past fiscal year. We'll see this coming fiscal year, this current fiscal year, and I expect that pattern to extend in fiscal years forward as well.
And our budget is $4 million.
Yes.
And our budget for the current year is $4 million in that compared to the 2.6 million.
Great. That is really good news. And just a last question. I know that this is something that Senator Gudas would also be interested in, is the Fab Labs grant on page 74 and 75. The question that I have there is, does this mean that 74 school districts got Fab Labs grants, or did it go to 24 individual schools? And did we have any recipients that received more than one of the grants?
These are school districts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are school districts, and
Okay.
And they only would have received a $25,000 grant at the most, maximum.
Okay.
So 24, and then if you recall, Senator, we have in our own budget, these were dollars, $500,000 of this was allocated by the legislature last year in the budget, in the biennial budget. We used all of those dollars. We put some of our own money into it because we saw the demand. And then in the current year, we have reallocated $500,000 towards Fab Labs and just made that announcement within the last couple of days, asking for applications to be due sometime in October. So we hope to have another 20 school districts that we're going to be able to fund for the following school year.
Okay, that sounds good.
Any other questions? Before we take a vote, just Senator Lassa, I'd be remiss if I didn't respond on behalf of myself as board chair, and I suspect many of the other private sector board members, but we do take our responsibility as fiduciaries and board members of the organization.
I know.
And, you know, I think it would be helpful if the tough conversations that we need to have are had within the board setting and not outside and not extraneously. So appreciate your comments, appreciate yours, Senator Gudex, but it's my hope as we go forward that we can work closely together and find that common ground to continue to improve WEDC and enhance the economic development landscape. So.
Great. And Lisa, my comments were not directed to you or any of the other private sector board members.
Well, thank you. So without any other questions on the ARED report, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Is there a second? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, unanimous vote in favor of approving the report. Next on the agenda, we have a motion to close the meeting. And the open meetings law allows the board to close a meeting when conducting public business and competitive or bargaining reasons required to close a session, which this is for. So I will.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have a question, and maybe my notes are just completely screwed up, but did we approve the minutes
We did.
of the June meeting?
The July meeting.
Are we not also supposed to approve them for June?
June 30. We do
The
that.
June 30th meeting?
You know, I do not.
I think we just did July.
I think we did July. You are correct.
Ray's moved it, I think.
Ray, terrific catch.
Okay, I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. For the record, the June meetings are approved, and we appreciate that.
Good catch.
All right, so do I have a motion and second on the closed session?
I move.
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? We will close the meeting and give us a couple minutes to clear the room. Turn off the camera. Thank you. It wasn't on my script. I missed it.